Hi, this is in response to the question as to how the trans community is facing erasure. So, one thing that comes to my mind vividly is social media, the algorithms that provide me with what I see. I get these little clips, these video clips of debates between anti trans people and trans allies. And these anti trans people have these gotcha moments that completely wrong foot the allies. And the allies never seem to have any solid answers to these gotcha moments. And I know, even though I'm just a humble school teacher, I know that there are good answers to those gotcha moments, but those never end up coming across my timeline. So I'm like wondering if the algorithms on these social media apps are like erasing us. So let me give you an example of what comes across my timeline all the time. Piers Morgan, okay, he is a conservative broadcaster from Great Britain. And one time on his show, he was dealing with What is a Woman, if you remember that from a couple years ago. And he had two ladies on his show, and I don't remember their names, but one of them was anti-trans. So she was aligned with Piers Morgan. And the other one was a trans ally. And when they were dealing with the question, what is a woman? The trans ally, was saying all the right things up to this point, that a woman does include people who have the XX chromosome, but it also includes biological men who identify as a woman, right? So in other words, trans women are women too. And Piers Morgan and his friend were like, well, that's absurd. Well, then anyone could identify as a pizza. And Piers Morgan himself, who is an older white gentleman, said, well, if that's true, then I can identify as a black lesbian, And his friend, his ally there, she laughed. She thought that was so funny. But what I'm bothered by, and I'm not faulting the trans ally. I mean, God bless her for being on his show and taking this on. But she didn't have a good answer. She just said, well, okay, identifying as a pizza or you identifying as a black lesbian, that's just absurd. And so their answer was, well, then how is it not any less absurd for a man to identify as a woman? And the trans ally did not have an answer for that. And I know the answer to that. And I know somebody must have broadcast the answer to that, but it's never come across my phone on my timeline because I think the algorithms are erasing us, because the answer is quite simple within the realm of science, okay? For someone like me, right, a trans woman, there have been years and years, decades of stable and reliable patterns of empirical data that show that a certain percentage within the population who are biologically male come in to talk to a doctor or a nurse practitioner or a therapist or a psychiatrist and say that they have these feelings, right? They feel like they are a woman. They are a woman internally, right? And there are similar patterns, right, for biological females who feel like men, and for people of both sexes that feel neutral, that feel in the middle, right? For non-binary people. Those are established, reliable, stable patterns of data. And for somebody to identify as a pizza or to identify for an older white gentleman to identify as a black lesbian, there's just not the stable pattern of data for that. I mean, that's like the right answer. And in terms of addressing a trans woman as a woman or a trans man as a man, or addressing a non-binary person as they, them, I mean, the analogy that I have is like alcoholism, right? Alcohol abuse disorder. There is a reliable, stable pattern of data that shows that these people have these problematic drinking problems, right? And it's like Piers Morgan and his friend, they're not telling an alcoholic, oh no, you're not an alcoholic. That's just, you just need to, right? You just need to learn how to drink responsibly, right? You just need to face reality. You're a man, right? You're a woman, okay? You're not they, them. You just need to face reality and drink responsibly. Like, to me, that is just a very, very good analogy, right? But there is again, I'm going to say this several times, there's a reliable, stable pattern of empirical data that shows that alcohol abuse disorder is a thing, and the only cure for it is for them to not drink, okay? So to tell them, no, you can drink, you just need to learn to drink responsibly, you're just not being a very nice person when you do that. And I think it's the same thing with transgender people. If you're saying, no, Nikki, you're a trans woman, you have a right to, dress how you want and take hormones and do all that stuff, but you're still a man, right? I just find that to be very similar. But anyway, but that again is the answer. Is there is no stable, reliable pattern of data that shows that people identify as pizza or older white gentlemen identify as black lesbians. So when they do say it, right, it is absurd, or okay, let's not even use the word absurd. It's just an anomaly, right? Where here's an older white gentleman saying that he's a black lesbian. What's the cause of this, right? Either you're Piers Morgan and you're pulling a gotcha moment, right? Or maybe there is some kind of psychosis there because this is such a rare outlying thing. But being a trans woman is not an outlying thing. It's not. The data is stable. Being a transgender man is not an outlying thing. The data is there for decades. Being non-binary. Now, getting back to my original point then, I'm just a humble school teacher. Where is that argument on social media? I haven't heard anybody say it. And I know there's got to be scientists much more, right, gifted scientifically than me. I'm a social studies teacher that are saying these things. So anyway, so that's how I feel like we're being erased. I'm not seeing those good arguments. I'm only seeing these really, really creative gotcha moments. And they're throwing these gotcha moments at people who aren't prepared. Where are the good answers to those gotcha moments from the people who are prepared? I think the algorithms maybe are erasing them. Who knows? All right. Well, thank you for listening to me.